Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Art Cast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you.
Good.
How are you? Your end?
I'm good. I've got my dad mug. Can you see that?
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's
Got a
nice.
cup of tea, so I'm doing all right. It still doesn't sink in. Every now and again, I have to go. Oh yeah, I'm dad. Yeah,
Has Mim's got a mum's? What? Has she?
she has.
Great.
She has indeed, indeed. Us parents over here feel very grown up. Uh, um, I didn't get around to sending a link out this week. I was gonna tell every time. I feel like I'm gonna do this every week. I'm gonna say to people, "Come and listen to us live," and then randomly text you spontaneously out of the blue. Quick, are you ready to record a podcast now? And you go, "Yeah, okay, great." And we're gonna record one, and I'm gonna forget completely to share that link with everyone. Perhaps when things are a little more settled, we can actually plan a time to record,
Mm,
and not just
yeah.
wait for our baby to nap before I quickly jump on and do a podcast. Never mind. Never mind. So, talk to us, Dad. What have you been up to? You mentioned the Australian Shepherd last week.
Yes, and that's all finished and in the can, as you know. I've sent you the picture across, and that went quite well. I had moments, but I was using the UART paper. Did I tell you that last week? I'm not,
No,
no,
you didn't.
in UART paper, I've done a few now on that paper. And I wasn't really impressed when I started, but having finished this one now, I'm now starting another one on the UART paper.
Oh, really? What colour? The sand colour?
Yes, it's a very light sand. It's it's very unusual. It's like it is literally a very light sand. That's the best I can give you it. Um, the sand pastel mat is a bit darker. And actually, it's quite a lot darker than this one. So it fits quite nicely. You know, I've been working on the light grey pastel mat, and I've done a few pictures on that, and I like that too. But this one has got that sort of fawny colour, so it does suit some pictures. It certainly suited that one, and that's why I picked it for the Australian Shepherd. But this cat that I'm doing now is, again, you wouldn't think it, but it does actually work very well with it. And so I think it's going to enhance the picture too. I'll find out when I finish. I've only really started it yesterday, so I haven't done very much so far. But I'm impressed so far with it.
So you did the Australian Shepherd on the sand, the light sand UArt last week, and you're doing another picture this time on UArt as well.
Yeah, yeah, same one.
Fantastic.
It, it reacts differently. You know, if you compare ombre paper and then you use the pastel mat, you know, you've got that gritty surface. It takes a bit of getting used to. Well, UArt is going to take even more getting used to. You know, but I think I'm sure. Well, I know because I've done now a few. Once you do get the hang of it, it doesn't. What it does, it doesn't allow you many mistakes. So if you do something wrong, you're going to find it difficult to get it out. So you've got to be careful. It does rub out, but you wouldn't be able to rub out dark colours very easily.
Hmm.
You know, but it's like everything else. If you are prepared to work at something, and I am with this, it comes off. And I'm
So
sure.
talk to us about this Australian Shepherd. Then, how did you find it? Is it a tricky subject? Are people going to be able to do this one very easily?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's the poise. Remember the pose and poise we had last week? Well, it's the same again. It's looking up and it's slightly to the side. You know, it's cocks its head slightly, which makes the eyes, the ears, the nose slightly out. You've got to kind of think about it. And if you do it wrong, it's going to look really silly. but it did come off, and the ear is fantastic. That really does look good. And when I spoke to you last week, I hadn't actually done the ear. I'd started the picture, but I hadn't done the ear. And so when I went back to do the ear, I struggled a little bit, but coped okay. When I watched it back, I was very surprised how good it recorded. You know, it's very hard when you're actually doing it. You don't appreciate it until you see it back, and when you see it back, you think, "Gosh, that did come out very well." So I think people are going to enjoy that, watching that. That was the only thing. And then the background, I did a very light background, which again, it shouldn't work, but it did. Normally I do either a contrast background, don't I? You know, if you've got a light animal, I do a dark background, and the other way if you've got a dark animal. But this one, I couldn't do a dark background because had I done, it would have spoiled the picture. So you've got to be careful, something like that.
It must be such a fine balance because you've done white animals like last week, even the white animal against a dark green background, but this one, for some reason, you know, the lighter background, I don't know, just really makes this subject pop, you know, out, even though it's a light background, not a dark background.
It's very difficult to put into words why I decide this. I mean, obviously, I'm looking at the photographic reference anyway. The cat last week, the background wasn't dark at all, so I had to make that a dark background to make it work. But the Australian Shepherd had a slightly darker background than the one I've actually put on it. So it's quite critical. And I think a lot of people, once they start doing pastel work or any artwork, they're the things that would stymie them to start with, because you've got to make decisions, and especially with the background comes after, usually it comes after you finish the picture. So this is why I'm sure beginners and even more experienced artists have a little bit of a wobble before they put something on. Because if you do make a mistake, then you completely ruined it, especially if it's a dark background, because you can't get it off. You can, but it doesn't work very well if you try to lighten it. So it's an interesting, very interesting point, I think. And I think that it's something that when you're doing your own work, when you're doing the work for me, I mean, or for us, when they're following us, it's all done for them. I mean, it's not a problem. It's when they do their own pictures, that's when the problems start. And that's why a lot of people, when they're starting out, copy the background that they see, you know, because that's a known fact. But that doesn't always work because, as you know, backgrounds are meant to enhance the animal and the subject. Whereas if you put something in the background, it's a distraction. Sometimes it works, it depends. But as I say, I think it's very interesting. I find that fascinating still, but it does give me wobbles when I first look at a picture, say, well, what am I going to do? I don't usually decide on the background until I finish the picture. Difficult to do that in advance.
Well, it pays off with this one. It really does. It's a beautiful, very soft image to look at. You get that impression of that soft fur. Kind of reminded me of the Siamese kitten that you did with that really flowy fur, and it's just a really light colours, really warm colours. It's very nice. So you mentioned that you're using UART for a new picture, and I asked you were going to show me on screen and show everyone on screen the photograph. Is it the photograph that you're working with? And it's going to be a surprise to me. I haven't seen this either, so try and see if you can.
I've got the picture. Yes. Shall I try it on the screen? Shall I put it on the screen and see what happens?
If you're listening to this, everyone, you might have to jump over to our video format and see. Oh my goodness. So cute. It is a gorgeous little white kitten.
Yeah,
For everyone.
it looks much nice. It doesn't look that good on the screen, but does in real life, I tell you. Beautiful eyes. And do you know what it's called? I haven't heard of this cat before, and I'm sure other people have done. It's called a Burmilla.
No, I
I'll
don't know
spell it
that.
for you. Burmilla. It's a Burmilla. I take it.
No, not heard of that that name of breed of cat before.
Burmilla, isn't it? Isn't it lovely? I just
Very pretty.
I didn't. I mean, I spotted the picture first of all. I saw the cat, and I thought, "Gosh, that's nice." And it's turning its head. It's actually back towards you. You see the tail and the back of the animal, and he's sort of peering around which is very, very endearing. But again, here again, I'll just show you a little bit of it's the background here. Just have a look at it again. And this is what I'm faced with, you see. Look at the
Wow.
background there. I've got a greyish background with a horrible rug that is sitting on, he or she is sitting on. So that's all got to be changed. I can't repeat that. So this is the sort of thing, and I don't know what to do yet. So it's going to be interesting. But, I said last week to you that when you have animals' feet in, or animals' whole bodies in, you've got to put something that's relevant. You can't just do it in a cloud. And that's what I've got to do that. But it's going to look good when I finish it. But you've got to be careful. If I put that horrible rug in, it would look awful. Again,
Everyone will have to tune in next week to see how you get on and what you make of
yeah,
it.
by then I would have done it and have it in the can. So,
Lovely.
but these are the things I love to do, Steve. As you know, it's the challenge of being able to find something within ourselves that can pull it off.
You're certainly putting yourself out there. You're definitely challenging yourself with these tricky obstacles to get over, the rugs and the backgrounds,
I look
etc.
for
So
them now. I look for them. I look for the challenge because I think if I'm challenging myself, we're also challenging our members, and they want those challenges as well. So
absolutely. Well, people will be able to see how you overcome these. I mean, we'll talk about it next week, but every picture that you're talking about, if for those that don't know, are appearing as classes on our website. So you'll be able to follow along and watch and see how Dad completes
mm.
these pictures.
The thing about this particular one too, I'm using quite a lot of Caran d'Ache pencils. Now the reason I'm doing that is Caran d'Ache have got a range of pencils which are soft. They're not necessarily soft in the material, although it is a bit. It looks soft. The colours are soft, and it absolutely fitted this cat beautifully. The selection of colours. In fact, funnily enough, I put some of the pencils that I use for the Australian Shepherd, which were new to me. I say they're new. They were. I hadn't used them before. I know when I sharpen them and think, oh, I haven't used this one, and I've used them on this cat as well. So that's interesting.
Lovely, lovely. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of beautiful tones in the Caran d'Ache range. Very satisfying to look at. There's a lot of unique tones that are in there, and such a wide range. I'm not surprised there's colours that you're still coming across that have been unused, with 84 to
Yes,
choose from.
and
Yeah.
there's more I haven't used yet, but I probably will. Well, hopefully, if I live long enough and do enough pictures, I probably will use them all. But they once you start using them, you find them they're unique. You can't find anything in the other ranges. I mean, you can compromise, and I do say this if you happen. I mean, there's one particular pencil I used in this new cat, and I use it just literally for a few seconds. Now, people have got to buy that pencil if they want to do it just for that few seconds of work. And I said, well, don't do that. You could use one of the other greens that we've got, because it's like a green. Well, I'm not going to spoil it and tell you exactly how I did that because it's quite unique. And I even now, when I marvel that I actually worked out how to find a particular tone. It's in the eye. Very, very hard. And we didn't have a pencil, you see, that actually would do it. A colour, even though I've got, what, I have 350 pencils altogether. I didn't have one pencil that actually would put that in, so I had to make the colour up. So I
Wow,
got a
you're
little teaser.
definitely teasing him. Yeah, you're teasing him. Fantastic. Oh, very exciting. Um, so to move on, we had a question that has come in, and I thought we could talk about it on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was from Martin, I believe, and he asked your advice on getting soft edges within clouds. So we're moving away from animals now over to landscapes,
Mm-hmm.
and you have beautiful, lovely, fluffy clouds that you produce in your landscape paintings. And he's wondering how you get those soft edges to your clouds. I wonder if you could give some advice on that.
It's colour shaper. That's all as simple as that. It's a colour shaper. What you do is if you say you've got a white cloud against a blue sky, I mean, this is typical clouds. And you start off by putting the white in, and then you put the blue into the white. So that's usually the way I do it. You don't put the white separately. So you cut in, and when you do that, you get a sharp edge, don't you? And what you do then is use your colour shaper and the white pastel pencil, usually the two things together, to actually fluff the edges up. And that's how I do it. I mean, you've only got to see me do it. It's better to see me do it rather than me explain it to you. But that's how I do that. And if you're working on darker colours, you do the same thing, exactly the same. It's the colour shaper the key to it all. You've got to smooth those edges with that. If you haven't got a colour shaper, well, you can't do it very easily. You can't do it with your finger. You can to a certain extent, but you haven't got the detail then. Colour shapers are far easier. And I usually use the ivory for that, Steve. The ivory colour shaper for that particular purpose. And if you've got a dark clouds and against a lighter sky, then it's the same, only you reverse it where you're using the dark colour and you fluff that up with your colour shaper. There's some very interesting ones coming up. The picture of Rye that I did, that's got a lovely sky, and people went to see that. That is, there's so much instruction in that, and all the things that Martin's talking about will be seen in that picture. I don't know when that's coming up, probably in 2025. I don't know.
Yeah, it will definitely be coming up soon. We've got a long list of projects, we've got all the cards here, so we're working on it. Which color shaper which ivory one would you recommend that is best for clouds? Is
Well,
the chisel one?
generally speaking, I would always try to use the number 2 ivory chisel. That's what I would use because you get a flatter surface and you can work it better. If you work the pointed colour shaper, you kind of have to work very hard to get that to look natural. So, I mean, it can work that way, but I prefer it with the number 2. Usually it's number 2 ivory. And if you've got the grey colour shaper, that will still work, but you don't get the softness that way. So,
Okay, good. Excellent advice. Well, I hope that helps Martin and anyone else that is wondering how to do that. As always, if you have a question for the podcast that you want to submit to us, just email it over, getting in touch with us, comment on this video, or if you're listening to the podcast, then head over to our website or Facebook page. Just get in touch with us through many ways you can, and send your questions over, and we'll talk about it. Excellent. Okay, cracking. Well, look forward to seeing the cat next week, Dad. How it turns out. We'll talk about it more then. If we get to plan this episode a bit more in advance, I can give everyone a little bit more warning about tuning into it live. But you can always watch the recording. But hopefully these are getting more regular now. We're able to do it, which is good, which is very nice. It's nice to be back, and everyone's, I think, so shocked that we're back to a regular schedule. They're sort of almost overwhelmed by all of this new content and new episodes that we're producing for people. But no, it's good to be back.
It's absolutely, I love it.
Good. Okay, we will leave it there for this week. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley. Enjoy your week. You nearly did it that time, Steve. I'm doing a new picture, Steve. Shall I surprise you? I'm not going to show it to you, but I can. It's a cat. But
You could show the camera, couldn't you, if you wanted to?
I could
Don't show me now, though. Show me when we're recording. No, don't show me now. Don't show me now. I don't want to see it.
I've got to get it in the right spot. See, a funny old name. That's the trouble. Vermilla. What was it? I still can't remember what it's called. Vermilla cat. Kitten.
It's a cross between a chinchilla Persian and Bernese.
All right, are you there? All right now.
Yeah, I'm good. Are you all right?
It takes a bit of getting used to it.
All right, are you ready to go?
I am indeed.